Hi, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a back-to-back reading of two different articles of Kenny Veach and the M Cave mystery. They are kind of short, so that's why I've put them both together, and we can compare them as we read through them. Let's get into the first article. So the first article is on the website called coolinterestingstuff.com, and the title, The Strange Disappearance of Kenny Veach. And this was published January 27th, 2018. A strange mystery, modern mystery. There's one of the pictures of Kenny in one of his previous hikes. I'm not sure where that is. In terms of his clothing, he doesn't appear to be wearing any knee braces, so I don't know if that's post or before his injury in the past. You never know. He does have a different coloured backpack. We've seen a khaki, maybe camouflaged brown one. That one looks blue. Let me know if you've seen a blue backpack before. You know, there was discussions in the past on the odd hike by some random person that came across a backpack but never picked it up. Okay, so let's begin reading. On Monday, November the 10th, 2014, Kenneth Lee Veach, known by friends and family as Kenny, told his family that he was going on a short overnight trip into the Sheep Mountains in Nevada. The 47-year-old hiker then headed out and never returned home. Well, few little mistakes here already. The bit about a short overnight trip, that wasn't 1 to 2 days, it was a 3-day hike, as Sharon said. So I don't know why they're saying it's just a short trip. It was more than 1 to 2 days, okay? Into Sheep Mountains. That's kind of incorrect. It was Jomay Canyon. Sheep Mountain, if I'm not mistaken, is that, you know, the mountain, the ridge on the side that goes all the way heading north. In terms of the ground Kenny hiked on, from what we've at least seen in his hike footage on YouTube, that was known as Jomay Canyon. Going past the mine shaft over Wild Horse Pass, then turning left and eventually going out through Pitcher Canyon. So that's the key names of the places. And supposedly he went back there. Now, is there any other mistakes? 47-year-old hiker then headed out, never returned home. Told his family. I don't know how many people he told in general. I know he told the girlfriend, obviously, as they were seen together the night before. Hunter Veach, the nephew, was told as well, because Kenny did leave a text message before going out saying, I'm going there and I've got a gift to give to you when I get back. So that's kind of interesting. Let's carry on reading. Kenny's disappearance was unceremonious as his exit, and few concrete clues were ever found. However, the truly bizarre aspects of the story begin not with Kenny's November the 10th hike, but a little over a month earlier. Oddly, it all seems to have begun with an offhanded comment on YouTube. Okay, so far this article is kind of interesting because the way they're wording it is, it's basically unknown. There's not enough evidence. But they're saying about not enough concrete clues. I mean, the phone and the vehicle was found in the desert, and at first glance, first time impressions, that would instantly suggest, well, he's out there. So in a way, it's kind of good that this article doesn't jump to that immediately. Is this article, the writer of it, thinking it's just simply not enough to prove he's out there? Maybe. So that's interesting. So it looks like we're going on to the bit where he was warned. A strange disappearance. Kenny Veach was an experienced solo hiker in the unforgiving Nevada desert who became famous when he disappeared. True. The video of his last post went viral on YouTube in 2014. He called the treks soul hikes in which he meandered all over the area by Nellis Air Force Base and the place we call Area 51. In this instance, he was hiking just north of Las Vegas in the Sheep Mountains and discovered this cave whose entrance was shaped like a capital M. As Kenny got closer to the entrance of the cave, his body began to vibrate. The closer he walked, the more it vibrated. It was at that time he pulled out his only line of defense, a knife. As he walked forward, he vibrated, finally becoming so frightened that he ran away from the cave. Okay, so that pretty much checks out, but the bit where it says he called his treks soul hikes, did he? I don't remember seeing Kenny leaving a comment like that. I don't know where they got that from. You can let me know down below if that's what he said. I know he talked about going off the beaten track. Meandered all over the area by Nellis Air Force Base and Area 51. So basically what the meaning there is what near the border, near the restricted land, but not on it. But, once again, just the way it's worded, I know some people know exactly what they're talking about, the areas, but other people may get confused. It's not Nellis Air Force Base. Nellis Air Force Base is outer skirts of Las Vegas, which is like 20 miles away. They're talking about like the Nellis test range, just the land where they test operations, weapons and explosives, all that stuff. As for Area 51, yes, they control a fair bit of land, but the actual base is much further away. So it would have been better if it was just worded as military land, something generic like that. Would have been better. Anything else? The bit about the knife, he pulled his knife out. Did he have a knife? I don't remember seeing one. Did he have any form of knife on his hike when he didn't record, before he, started talking about everything? Yes, he didn't have a gun with him at the time, hence why he brought one on his video hike, but I'm interested about the knife, Why pull it out if he just said he was scared and he ran away? Like, I thought as soon as he felt the vibrations, he just went away. He didn't get too close. I guess it depends how it's worded. There's the video, the link to it. Taking his footage, he went home and put the whole thing up on YouTube. Okay, so the way this is worded, it's worded very poorly, because the way they're making this seem is he went out, he felt the vibrations, had that first time experience, and then it says taking his footage, he went home to upload it to YouTube. That's not true. He went out, he came across the cave, felt the vibrations, supposedly, frightened, ran away, didn't have the equipment with him at the time or line of defense, left comments online, then went out to look for it, and that's when he recorded it, got the footage, but wasn't successful finding any cave or any vibrations. So it's been worded wrong. Anyway, he went home, put the whole thing on YouTube, yes, at a later date. Kenny was 47 years old, and by all accounts was a likeable, decent man with a passion for hiking. In his video, he is affable and enthusiastic. He was described by a relative as a bit of an adrenaline junkie. Okay, so this is the thing. When you're basing it off video footage, if you're looking back retrospectively, you can say it's a valid point. He's enthusiastic, he's creative, he's got an imagination, but to say he's a really nice and likeable, decent man, how can you say that? And that applies to really anyone in any situation. If you don't know the person, you're not around them in any shape or form, you weren't talking to them before the person went missing, how can you talk on behalf of them? Unless it's just one of those generic things where everyone speaks really highly and positive of somebody after a tragedy, even though it might not exactly be true because they haven't, experienced or been in the presence of that individual themselves. You know what I'm saying? You know, not everything's positive. You see a lot of comments on YouTube, all different ages and stuff, I assume, where people are like, oh, we love Kenny so much. I love Kenny so much. Oh, we could have done this, we could have done that. Oh, I really miss him. And it's like, yes, it's understandable that I guess people can become attached to people in many different ways at the time or when it's too late. That tends to be the common occurrence. But to not know someone and yet to feel so connected, that's, I guess, a bit more unique. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it depends how you analyse people and how you speak of them, because not everything is positive. The odd family member or family-related person, Susan Veach, you know, she's pointed out that Kenny wasn't all good. Some of the family members were a little bit corrupt when it came to financial stuff and money, greed, selfishness, stuff like that. And that's coming from someone who was in the presence of Kenny, who was around him, talked to him back then when he was around and alive, supposedly. You know what I'm saying? So, who do you believe more? Okay. Described as an adrenaline junkie, a relative said that. We don't know who exactly. Could it be the daughter, maybe? I mean, this was 2018, so they can't be quoting anyone from the documentary because that was 2021. Let's continue. From what I read about him, it was true. He once picked up a rattlesnake and had to be hospitalized for a week. He did not take too much in the way of supplies. He would be gone for days with a chocolate bar and water. He even admitted he put his body through a lot. Once he hiked so long, his toenails turned black and fell off. Yeah, that's roughly quoting what Kenny said in a comment. Why is interesting, I didn't know about the whole rattlesnake situation. But the person said, from what I read about him, it was true. So this person found information from somebody else, some other place, in that Kenny got injured once by a rattlesnake, so probably got bit. Don't know to what extent, how serious it was. Was this the catalyst for what made Kenny create his YouTube channel username and profile picture? Could Kenny being hospitalized in the past led to him wearing those snake guards? You know, adaptation, learning to survive, being more safe. Or did it just happen, you know, when he was already established with his username and stuff? Interesting. You can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the rattlesnake situation. I've never heard of it myself. As for the supplies, yeah, he did limit himself. But where it says he would be gone for days with a chocolate bar and water, I mean, it's a kind of brief that, but yeah, it's probably true that, because he said he had some kind of, was it an energy bar or something? Nothing too much, limited water. Yeah, okay, let's continue. The area Kenny was hiking around was full of old mine shafts that the military had dumped barrels of chemicals into. It was about 7 miles from the testing range, so it was very isolated. It was a place well known for having drug addicts take up residence in, and a popular dumping ground for murder victim bodies. So one of his biggest mistakes is that he went alone. Okay. This is very interesting because it's looking at, you know, multiple theories, tying them all together to a location which has never been talked about in that way before. Sure, there's been talks about military presence, dumping grounds at the supposed covered M cave discovered and investigated by Sean Horlicker, but this discussion about dumping stuff in and murders taking place near mine shafts has never been mentioned before from what I know of. So that is very interesting. How true is it? Well, I don't know. I mean, where do we start? Full of old mine shafts. Is it full of old mine shafts? I only ever saw one, and that was up Jeremy Canyon approaching Wild Horse Pass, or Saddle Horse Pass, whatever you want to call it. J. Silver Hills calls it that. But you know what I'm saying? Where are the other mine shafts at? Because I've only ever seen one. Unless way in the distance, but not within the same canyon. So that's a bit weird. The bit about military dumping barrels of chemicals into. If that was genuinely the case, then when search and rescue got to that mine shaft, when Kenny was stood near it, when Scott Natal went inside, Jeff Claw went inside, and maybe some other people in between, wouldn't they have became ill? Felt some kind of side effect? I know Sean did, but that was at the covered MK. That's when it occurred then. But no one got ill from going into the mine shaft, unless the chemicals or whatever weared off over time. I'm not too sure. But yeah, kind of interesting. You know, military dumpings. I can't imagine military dumping stuff into a mine shaft like that without covering it up. You know, okay, there's been talks about military dumping nuclear waste into caves and then filling them up. It makes sense. You fill it up to prevent it from coming out into the atmosphere, or to try and slow it down, and also to prevent people from going in and getting hurt. But as you've seen, the mine shafts, the ones what we've seen at least, are open. They're not restricted. The ones Scott Natal came across in different areas, they weren't really covered up. Yeah, they might have been filled in, you know, like a rock fall, or they only digged so far in and that was about it. But there was no sign saying warning, deadly gases, deadly chemicals inside, none of that. So, yeah. The bit about a dumping ground popular for murder victim bodies. I mean, the way this person's written the article, they're like going head in, and this is what they believe. I don't know where they got it from, but, you know, dumping bodies there. You know, if that was the case, then surely you would have come across them. Has there been anything in the news in the past? Yeah, there was the odd theory suggestion that could have been some kind of cartel gang Kenny came across and bad things happened. He got kidnapped, he got hurt, harmed. But as we've seen on the hikes by all the different hikers, not come across any of those situations. Now, from what I can remember a few months ago, to link in with the mine shaft and murders taking place, Sean did bring up when he was talking at his home about how at the bottom of his street, a bit further up one of the paths, there is an open mine shaft. And Sean was saying how the odd guy came down, visited him, asked if he could be helped in that direction, and Sean was suspicious. He believed that the odd person was trying to lure him to the mine shaft, and then they would push him in, and he would obviously die or just get seriously injured, then die. So that's all I can think of when it comes to attempted murder at a mine shaft. Now, interestingly, I did see a comment by Sharon. I can't remember on what video. It might be on the unreleased footage one in Sharon's latest video. And it was to do with, I think Sharon was talking about, yeah, there's many mine shafts within the area. You could easily fall down one if you were pushed. Something like that. I'm not quoting with 100% accuracy or certainty, but something about falling down a mine shaft. And it's like, oh, are they hinting at something, referring back to what's previously happened? If Sean experienced what he did, attempted murder, as well as sabotage in the past with his vehicle, it does make you think what truly is going on. So yeah, that is interesting, those two theories, especially tied with the mine shaft. Now, we just put that aside. Let's carry on reading. The first YouTube video was received with mixed reviews. Immediately, people commented that he was lying about the experience. Others dared him to go back and get more footage, so he did with a little water and a Rutger 9mm gun. He overlooked the cave in the second video, which got bad comments on his YouTube page. One that suggested that he kill himself. So Kenny went back again, inviting all who wanted to come with him, and no one did. Okay, so where do we begin here? Because this is worded very wonky. Okay, the first YouTube video. What first YouTube video? I mean, from what we see on screen, all the videos were uploaded on the same day or so, or most of them at least. If we're referring to his first video, that's to do with, I think, his house tour, or something to do with one of his inventions. And I don't know what's that's got to do with the M-Cave situation and viewer experience and response, negative reviews, like, it's got nothing to do with it. So did this person get confused? Or is this person referring back to Kenny's earlier videos, which were deleted, his other hiking ones? You never know, possibility. But the bit where it says he was dead to go back, get more footage, so he did with little water and a Rutger 9mm gun. What is it about the 9mm thing? You know, the only interesting thing is on just about most of the articles I've read out to you, not websites, but the articles, they've all mentioned 9mm. I've seen in the comment section on YouTube, some people have said it's not 9mm, it's a, a different round. So that's interesting how people, jump to that. So, and Rutger, never heard of that. I assume that's a gun make. Leave a comment down below to let me know if that's true or not. So, I don't know if this person is an expert with firearms or not, but they seem to mention some stuff at least. Then what it says, he overlooked the cave in the second video, which got bad comments on his page. Well, he only ever uploaded, from what we can see on screen right now and previously, he only ever uploaded one video of one hike. Anything else, which may have been there, was back in the past, which got removed. So I think this person might be either getting confused or they're aware that there were previous videos of the hike back in the past. One or the other, okay? The bit where it says, one comment suggested that he kill himself. I don't remember seeing that. No one's ever brought that up before. Possibility, you never know. But maybe this person got confused again, because that comment on YouTube, the account Lemmy Kill Mister, if you break it down and say it slow, it kind of sounds like kill something. It doesn't quite sound like it, but people were interpreting it as kill something. Maybe this person thought kill himself meant kill mister. You know what I'm saying? They might be referring to the comment of the username, but they're getting it mixed up and assuming that someone literally said KYS. Like, what? A bit weird, this. So Kenny went back again, a third time. That's not true. From what we know of, in terms of video footage and the order it followed, because it's mixed up here. Yeah, he went once, didn't capture it, wasn't prepared. He went again, recorded it, was unsuccessful. He went one final time, supposedly, and that was it. But it's worded differently here, so I just wanted to clear that up. Let's continue. Kenny was last seen November the 10th, 2014. He has not been seen since. Wow, you could talk about the CCTV footage in 2018 at the Reiki Healing Store, Las Vegas Hidden Forest. But he was last seen November the 10th. Where was he last seen on November the 10th? Because on the NAM US or NAM US website, if you ever heard of that, some missing person database in the US, at the time when I was reading that out to you, it made it seem it was on the 10th when Kenny was at the movie theatres. That's incorrect. It was the day before, at 2200 hours at night, where Kenny and the girlfriend went to the movie theatres, then shortly afterwards parted ways in their own vehicle, from what Susan said as well. So, who saw him on the 10th? Okay, it says last seen on the day he went supposedly missing. So who were the witnesses, eyewitnesses? That's never really been talked about, has it? Is it just neighbours? Could well be neighbours. I know there was some comments in the past saying that neighbours saw Kenny 3 days after his disappearance and he was back at his home. That's kind of interesting, but if that is really the case, then why is it not being talked about much, or why did people not report it back then? It's kind of an important thing if you see someone a few days later and it's them, but it just seems a bit, oh well. So, leave a comment down below. We need to discuss this about the 10th. Who saw him on the 10th exactly? Was it just cameras, or was it neighbours, family? Let's continue. He has not been seen since. His phone was found in Sheep Mountains on a rock near a mine shaft. That's somewhat correct, but not Sheep Mountain, Jomay Canyon, where the mine shaft is. The shaft was searched. Not exactly. No Kenny was found. Yeah. To put a camera down on a rope, not ideal, but is it health and safety at the time, or there was a consensus that they can't go down, safety reasons and stuff, so used the camera instead, couldn't find anything. Scott Natal, Jeff Claw, a few years later, did investigate, did go down, didn't find anything. Okay. He has not been seen since, so was Kenny murdered because he stumbled on some secret government project? Did he commit suicide, or was he just a high-risk hiker then ran out of luck? A few days after Kenny disappeared, his girlfriend posted a note on YouTube in the comments section in which she states she reported him missing and he had not been found. She finished by encouraging all hikers to take GPS with them. Okay, hold on. I don't believe it was a few days after he disappeared. I thought it was in September. I might be wrong. Was it September? No. But it wasn't a few days after. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, I guess it just depends what year as well. Was it 2015 or 2014? I think it was 2014. But it's definitely a few months on when Sharon appeared, because she said, I didn't know about all this, all the comments and people wondering where he is. That's why Sharon showed up to try and clear the situation as best as she could. So it wasn't a few days later. It doesn't mention anything about exactly when the girlfriend reported him missing here in this article. From what we've recently found out, it was 7 to 8 days and not 2 days. That's quite important, that. Encouraging hikers to take GPS, yeah. And then finally, she went on to tell people later that though Kenny seemed in good spirits and upbeat, that he suffered from depression and refused medication. An interesting side note is that Kenny's father committed suicide when he was 20 years old. He said if he ever decided to do that, no one would find his body. Okay, so that's it of the article. So yeah, I was wondering when they were going to add in, about the mental health part and the issues Kenny supposedly faced. I mean, maybe people have different writing styles, or at least how they structure it when typing it up. It's not always in the same order as you may have seen with previous articles. Maybe most of the time to start the story off, introduce the environment, the individual, maybe a small little backstory, and then start going into the different ideas, theories, concepts. But I guess sometimes some of the concepts are a bit, differently structured, like this one, the suicide one, right at the end. And I guess it depends how it's done. Sometimes when you want to make big impression, or there's a certain point you think is important, you want to highlight it, maybe you would include it at the very start of the article because it's more eye-catching, there's a higher viewer attention rate at the start, and the longer the video, the article, whatever draws on, people become less interested and end up skipping past and not reading. So could that identify that maybe this individual of the article didn't believe the suicide concept was as important or as reinforced? It was just like a suggestion at the end of the whole discussion by that person. Maybe. I mean, you gotta just look at it briefly. not get too all in, because this person who wrote the article, I didn't see the name, okay? I don't think there was a name. But you saw there was a fair few inaccuracies. And the bit about the murder situation, the military, the chemicals, is a bit out there because I guess the location, you know, in a, well, I don't know if you'd call it a positive way, in a more interesting way, that's never been really talked about before in that area, as I said. So you can leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this article, okay? What we're going to do now is transition onto the second one, which I believe is much shorter. That's why I wanted to include it in this, okay? So the link to the website's top of the screen. Name of the article, The Kenny Veach Disappearance, written by RCF, February 25th, 2016. Now if we look down below, you can see the image of Kenny, and that's in his MK hike video. Let's begin reading. Kenny Veach was an experienced hiker who enjoyed hiking around the desert and documenting his excursions on YouTube. In October 2014, Veach was out hiking in the Sheep Mountains of Nevada. Okay, so before we go any further, okay, we've got the little introduction of him, fair enough, correct year. But once again, Sheep Mountains, like the previous article, is it Sheep Mountains or should it be Jomay Canyon? Okay, he went Sheep Peak, Gas Peak when he was hiking and camping in the past, but, you know, depending how you word this, if it genuinely was Sheep Mountains and it was in the hills, in the mountain range, up there, then, yeah, okay. Maybe the searchers looking for the cave, looking for Kenny, have been in the wrong area all this time. But most likely, this person who wrote the article, as well as the one earlier in this video, got the name wrong. And, you know, when searchers come along, upcoming hikers, and they see this, they may think, oh, we've got to go up there, which could be dangerous, exert more energy and effort, hurt themselves possibly. You know, it can get messy, so got to try and clear things up as we go along. Anyway, let's continue. An area he knew well. He came across a cave that was quite unusual. This cave was apparently shaped like the letter M. The shape was not only weird thing about it. Veach said that the cave made his body vibrate. The weirdness kept Veach away from the cave that day. When he returned home and began commenting about the cave on YouTube, some users urged him to go back to the cave to investigate. Veach returned to the Sheep Mountains in November 2014 for a planned 2-day hike in search of the M Cave, as he called it. So this is calling it a 2-day hike. The other person and some previous articles said an overnight stay, an overnight trip, something like that. So yeah, you can round up to 2 days, fair enough. But once again, from what Sharon said, it was 3 days at least. So go look at that. Where are we? Began commenting, yep. Returned, yep. Sorry, apologies about this. Due to the uneasy feelings he felt on his first hike, Veach brought along a sidearm as protection. Yep, that's true. That is true. Doesn't mention anything about the knife, though, as the previous article did. But yeah, as you saw in his hike video, he did have a gun with him. At the moment, it's not mentioned anything about the caliber of the gun or the type of it, as all the other articles have suggested. Okay. Veach would never return from his hike. His cell phone was recovered by search and rescue, but his body and gear have never been found. Good. Good. Finally, it's worded somewhat correctly. Yeah, and what I'm saying is about where it says, and the gear has never been found. Okay, it's vague. It doesn't mention too much. But, you know, he did have gear with him at the time. He would have had some form of clothing, obviously, when he's out there walking. Most likely would have had a backpack for something at least. He did take a camera with him from what the girlfriend said. He did take his gun with him from what the girlfriend said. So that's what's classified as gear, other gear, aside from his phone. And because it hadn't been found, it's like, well, is he even out there? Where is he exactly? So it's been worded a bit better, I'll say. Continuing. So what are our options here for what happened to Kenny Veach. The most logical answer is that he fell victim to an unstable cave and was either killed or trapped inside. This may explain why no one has found him. He could be buried under or behind a cave, in or landslide. A less logical but more interesting option includes the possibility that Veach discovered a hidden military installation and was disappeared to prevent him from telling people what he saw there. I don't think that's the correct vocabulary, but then again, I'm not great either at times. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. Yeah, after all, this area isn't all that from some military bases that are favourites of the UFO and paranormal community, such as Area 51. Maybe he discovered a cave full of reptilians who captured him and dragged him back to their lair in the hollow earth. No one knows for sure, really. Is that it? Did Veach find the M cave? Is his disappearance related to the vibrations he felt when he first discovered the cave, or was it simply a case of misadventure? Maybe someone will have to find the M cave to find out. And this was, 2016? So, Sean started 2015, 1 or 2 hikes. I think some in 2016, and then skip forward to 2019 where more was done. Okay, and that's where it began with all the other people as well. So, in fairness, although it's a limited article, this is 2016. This is only like 2 years or so after Kenny's disappearance, and only so much was talked about then. There was hardly any hike footage back then in terms of all the other hikers, because there was really no one else around at the time, 2016. I know you had Sean, but that was like 1 or 2 videos, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's interesting. The way it's been worded for most part of it, it's reasonable, it's decent. Seems, well, you may argue against it, but it seems a little bit more genuine, this, even being limited in comparison to some of the more saturated, bloated ones of recent time, I guess, 2018 onwards. Was there anything else I needed to mention? I mean, just the way it's been worded, this, a less logical but more interesting option includes possibility of hidden military installation. This person is clearly identifying, acknowledging that bit of a reach, okay, bit far-fetched, but you never know. It is a mystery, it's open for interpretation. That's basically what they're getting at. So that's good. That's what I try to do, at least when I'm covering a range of different ideas. Okay. The bit about reptilians, it's not talked about too much, that, to be fair. Sean talked about it, one of the main individuals to do so. I guess a few people on GLP, but in general, it tends to be military, UFO, or succumbing to the environment, that. But reptilians, it's like its own thing, because I don't know how you exactly identify them as a creature, a thing. They're not the tall whites, but they are unusual things, mysterious. There's your talk about it by Sean when he was out there in the dark being followed out. Really, Robin, at a point in time, I believe, talked about reptilians, maybe. Was it J Chuck as well, maybe? Mentioned something about a cryptoid or something like that. I mean, some people do switch back and forth with ideas, so it's hard to keep track of it all. But yeah, interesting. Okay, so as you saw, that one was much shorter in length, and that's why I just wanted to include it in this, because if I did it as a standalone video, because it being more basic and might seem a bit repetitive. I mean, it could even be a little bit repetitive in this because it's back-to-back 2 articles, but it's just worth including, because look at it this way, I'll probably say it again in another video. People are saying that, okay, where's the progress right now? Where's all the new information and findings right now? Well, realistically, there probably isn't any at this point in time, but what you can still do is make a bit of noise, a bit of awareness about the case, which may enable people to now come in, for new information to flow in over time. If you just literally cut the line, that's it, then what does happen? Absolutely nothing. You might get the odd person that shows up, but maybe not as frequent or not as quick. Susan showed up, didn't she? If I didn't consistently upload those videos back to back, maybe she wouldn't have appeared. Maybe if Atari didn't do what she did, you know, digging deeper, Susan may have been carrying on behind the scenes doing her own investigation and research and stuff, and it might have been resolved, or progression may have been made to it, to what level, to what degree, behind closed doors, kind of speaking, you know what I'm saying? And also, you know, the odd person left a comment recently saying about, yeah, but the only other thing left to do is look at the unexplained, the not talked about theories so far, you know, things that might have not been looked at. Well, these articles may help discover those ideas and concepts, just like with that dumping chemicals, barrels into the mine shaft, and the murder idea, being pushed down one, being ambushed, those sort of theories and concepts, because they're not talked about as much. Understandably, there may not be as much evidence to prove those things, but you can still look into them. And with these articles we're looking at, it might bring up other points which we've not seen or heard of before, you never know. And also, it's like a good way of understanding the timeline. Some people have said we need a timeline of events. Okay, maybe more to do with Kenny, the build up to it and stuff, but like what happened afterwards exactly? Well, with these articles, with the information that was found at the time relevant to the year, the date, you know, we might better understand it. I know it's kind of out of order in terms of the dates. You know, I did one in 2021, reviewed that, might have been a 2022 one, then a 2018 one, then a 2017 one, 2016 one. You know, we're either all over the place or we're going backwards. But either way, I'm sure it can be arranged in some way. Maybe I can arrange it in the playlist of dates, the year. Maybe I can do that at a later point once I've got all the articles done and covered, okay? But when you look through those articles, then you can compare and contrast to see what's relevant, what's consistent, and what is said within the text. Are there differing opinions or not? Like, is there additional information? Was more talked about then to now, or is more talked about now to then? That sort of stuff. Is there any contradictions? Is there any plagiarism? I don't know. Could be anything. Okay. So that's it for now. Next video, I want to try and work on a completely different mystery. Okay. Smaller one, but just a different one for a change. Try and prepare for that or make something of that. I, you know, was acknowledged by the channel that I can share the footage, so that's good of them. So yeah, should be fine. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. That's it for now. Leave a comment down below and goodbye.